Welcome to the Business of You podcast, the show dedicated to helping service entrepreneurs build a better brand to grow a bigger business. I'm your host, Michelle Griffin, and I'm here each week empowering you to put yourself out there, sharing actionable tips and inspiring stories so you can create your personal brand, grow your dream business, and build your future, all while making more income and more impact doing exactly what you love. I'm super excited you're here. Now let's get going with today's show. Welcome everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Business of You Live. I'm your host, Michelle Griffin. I'm here to help you build your brand to grow your business. So today I want to welcome the 200 plus people who are hopefully watching live or in the replay. I want to ask you a question though. If you're on LinkedIn, if you're watching this live, there's a really, really good chance that you're here because you want to build your online presence, build your brand. You want to get visible and you want to put yourself out there. Oops. So I want to tell you today, we've got a special treat. We have two people that I met actually face to face the first time today, but I feel like I've known them this entire year because they took the challenge and said yes, crazily probably, right, to posting every single day of 2021, along with me and probably 300, I think there's 300 of us in the group. We're here to tell you how to build your personal brand, how we did it, and so you can too, starting today, starting tomorrow, or hopefully in 2022. So let's get started. I'm so excited to welcome Michael Scott and Britt Crawford, two people who have posted every single day on LinkedIn and they're building their brands and they're going to tell you how to do it too. So Michael, tell us where you're calling from and where you're located and what you do.
Yes, yeah, definitely. My name is Michael Scott. I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement with 1150 Academy in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we are not a nonprofit computer boot camp specializing in cybersecurity, software development, web development, and UX UI design. And 1150 Academy is the whole reason why I jumped on LinkedIn. And before that, I was your casual LinkedIn person where I would just update my job. Like, here's my new job title, here's my new job, and I had been on LinkedIn since 2009 and had really done nothing with it for about 10 years. So when I joined 1150 Academy, I was like, I want to create a brand where people see me and say, who is this guy? What is this guy about? And that those eyes would go back towards my company, 1150 Academy. So I was just kind of a lurker for a little while, just kind of following people's advice and kind of what they were creating on LinkedIn. And I eventually got connected with Michelle later in 2020.
Yep.
And then I started kind of increasing my engagement on LinkedIn by posting once a week, twice a week, and then eventually going to like 2 to 3 times a day for a little while. And then Michelle posed the 365 challenge on January 1st. And I was like, I can do this 100%. And it's been a roller coaster for sure, but I mean, it has been so valuable to my career, to my growth, to my identity, and I've been loving it. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Okay, well, thank you. Britt, tell us where you're from, what you're doing, and you work for a Fortune 50 company. So this is going to be a different perspective on why you got on LinkedIn. So let's hear it.
All right. So, hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you checking this out. So when I started on LinkedIn, it was years ago. And, for all the traditional reasons, like, building out a resume and things like that. And then I started saying, hey, I could use this to get recognized by some people at our headquarters because I'm in an Oklahoma office and my headquarters for my company's down in Houston. And so I wanted people to know who I was, and I wanted them to associate wisdom with my name. So I would post wise quotes. So I got in the habit of, once a week, I'd go throw some wise quotes out there. People liked it. I got some traction. And that's really where things were for a few years until 2020 came around. And then 2020 was a difficult year for all of us. And I just kept seeing every social media site I was on, even LinkedIn, just a bunch of just negative stuff. And it was really dragging me down. And I just got sick of it. And so I put out my own challenge in 2020 called #Save2020 and decided to just start throwing positive content out there. Anytime I saw anything positive that someone was doing, I'd start posting about it, start calling it out. And it really started getting some traction. And I started seeing just how powerful the platform LinkedIn was. And then as 2021 was rolling around, Michelle, your 365 challenge.
Yep.
And I started thinking, I wonder what would happen if I tried posting every single day. So I figured, hey, what the heck? I'll give it a try, see what happened. And things just kind of blew up from there. Some of you that follow me, my headline, The Funniest Accountant on LinkedIn.
Yes.
That happened because I just started putting myself out there on LinkedIn. I got to know some people. I competed in a copywriting competition, which isn't something accountants normally do, but I like to challenge myself. And so I didn't win the copywriting competition, but I was a very close second. And there were people that were judging it that said they actually, when they read the content that I read, they actually spit out their drinks laughing. And so James Lorraine said, well, you may not have won, but you're definitely the funniest accountant on LinkedIn. And that just stuck.
Boom. Yes. And that headline, I see it everywhere. And it's like, boom, that has to be one of the smartest headlines on LinkedIn. So that was awesome. So, hey, I'm excited because we're all three now on screen, and I am so sorry and embarrassed actually for that technical flub, but that's life, right? And that's what makes us human. So anyway, okay, so we got me. I'm Michelle Griffin. Just real quick, I decided, much like you, I was not posting consistently, left my corporate job in 2020, and on February 1st, 2020, I became my own boss, consultant, and all the good things I'd been dreaming about, and knew I had to get out there just like you. So I said, why not just go, all or nothing? That's kind of me. I respond to challenge as well for some reason. Anyway, so Nate Payo, who was my co-conspirator on this 365 challenge, he was the one who's like, sure, I'll do it with you. And it just snowballed from there. We started a group. We'll put the link in the challenge. We have up to 300 people. And anyway, it just blew up, and I got to know you guys very fast, right? We felt like in that group, we were just all there bonding together to do it, but we're doing it for different reasons. Me being my own consultant, having my own consultancy, Michael works in a nonprofit, and Britt works in a Fortune 50 company. Britt, tell them real quick another reason why you decided to do it. I'm sorry if you might have said it because I was working on the tech. Did you say about for the remote aspects too? Because I think that's super important to tell people. Did you already cover that?
So my office isn't the headquarters. So we have a group of us here in Oklahoma, but the headquarters for our company is in Houston. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't get forgotten about. I wanted to be top of mind and have people know who I was still. And so that's part of the reason why I started posting on LinkedIn to begin with, was just to have my name out there. I figured if I posted wise quotes that people would associate wisdom with my name. And honestly, even that little bit, even though I was only posting here and there, still helped.
Yep. Because, most of the people are there, even if they don't tell us they're there. Yeah. So that's good. And wise quotes and now witty quotes. You got both aspects covered. So so we said yes, January 1st to the 365 challenge. Call us crazy maybe, but I want to talk today. What are the lessons learned? How, if someone today wants to get out there, they want to start today, tomorrow, next week, whenever, I say start as soon as you can. And I have some tips on that, but I want to know what were the first things you learned right off the bat? And I know the big question of content is coming into play. So we're going to talk about that. So Michael, we'll start with you. I remember you even talked about, you messed around with you used some of the office quotes. You were kind of going in that direction for a while, or was that just like a one-day post thing? I just remember that standing out.
Well, I mean, that's not a one-day post. That's an every day of my life thing. So since 2003, you could never Google my face without Steve Carell showing up. So I mean, but I've thrown some office content in there, and like you have to roll with it or you'll go insane and stuff
Absolutely.
like that. So, but for me, like tackling the 365 challenge, like I knew I had to have some type of rough game plan going into it, so, and a lot of like content creators, they talk about having like 4 to 5 major pillars that you kind of lean on, so like mine were, educational, inspirational, my family, my lessons that I've learned in my work history. And then I was able to create stories and create content from that, and I would say for a long time, I've been able to lean on main parts of those pillars, but over time I've slowly had to adjust them, because you do hit those walls, you do hit those point where like I've exhausted these pillars. Now it's time to replace them with new pillars And I'm probably in that phase right now too, where I've probably changed my pillars 2 times already, and I'm probably getting to the point where I kind of need to adjust them again so I can create new content for
Mm-hmm.
people that are following me. So and to be honest, there are days where I'm super strategic. Some days I'm literally just sitting on the couch like, what am I going to type right now? So there's no like magic formula. It's just what has worked for me, and hopefully I can communicate to this audience something that can work for them as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. I can totally identify with that. I'm going to stop this moment because I want to give a shout out to everyone watching live. Thank you guys so much. If you want to put where you're calling from or watching from, love it. #live. Shout out to Jacob. Don't laugh at me. He's all over. So I want to give him a shout out. Thank you for being here, guys. It's putting up with our tech issues, especially. Okay. Anyway, Michael, you did a great job coming out. I mean, you got your brand, like you said, behind the scenes in the studio. You're a big fan of Star Wars, Harry Potter, a lot of this Marvel stuff. You're really good at tying that in to a business lesson. So you keep it, you tie it in, and I love that. And there was a time too, you were really giving us behind the scenes when you guys were having a special, I remember things, right? When you were having a special event at work, the behind the scene videos. So you get those in well. So if you guys are not following Michael Scott, and what is your thing? Isn't it like the Michael Scott, your hashtag, your
It's
URL?
the Michael Scott, so
The
people will
Michael Scott.
understand that
Yeah.
I've had that
Go
name
follow
before in the
him.
office. So
Exactly.
yeah.
You can see him here. So he is awesome. So I love how you did that. Now, Britt, you have a different story. I want to hear a little bit, because working in a Fortune 50 company remotely, a lot of people come to me like, I really want to have a brand, but my company won't let me. And we won't get into all that part. We obviously, your company embraced it and you could do it. So tell us how you approached it from a company's perspective to get out there and be visible.
So, I mean, the first aspect is, each company they are going to have things that they care about and they don't want you to say, or, don't want you to do. But B, most of the time, if you're just being yourself and you're not saying stuff like you're a representative of the company saying it, they don't care. One of the coolest things for me was my company actually did an article on me that said, have you met the funniest accountant on LinkedIn?
Oh,
and
wow.
actually promoted, what I do on LinkedIn. And I thought
That's
it was
cool
that, I'm careful, my content, Michael talked about pillars. So the underpinning thing, I don't have a lot of boundaries in what I share and don't share, but the one underlying theme with everything for me is I want to leave a positive message. So whether I'm cracking jokes or whether, talking about business or whatever it is, I want to leave it on a positive note. I don't want it to generate negativity or leave someone feeling down or in a worse place after they read it. Beyond that, I'm pretty open. I'll talk about just about anything, but you do have to navigate that water a little bit. Honestly, I think changing up the headline from what my title is at my company to the funniest accountant on LinkedIn makes it easier too, because when I say something, unless someone goes and clicks on my profile and digs in, it's not going to immediately stick out to them where I work.
Yeah. Can I say, when I was doing the graphics behind the scenes and I clicked on your profile or whatever, I had zero knowledge that you worked for Phillips 66, if we can say it. I'm like, oh, wow. I knew for some reason Michael did, because you talk about it a lot, Michael, but I had no idea. So very well done. So I like how you merged that. And, you're lucky because your company's supportive, but obviously, play the right game. So perfectly right. So here we're hoping that, whoever's watching live or in the replay or listening to this as it becomes a podcast later, you can identify with someone who works for a nonprofit, someone who works for a company, and someone like me who's an entrepreneur or consultant. And what do? I do more pillars on teaching people about branding and LinkedIn for, and content, just because at the end of the day, I'm more of a coach. I'm not a coach, like I'm an Enneagram 2. If you follow any of that, I love to teach and mentor. That's just who I am. And like you, Britt, I want to be an encourager. I want to leave a positive impression. Your brand is every touch point, your content, anything you say and do, you're going to form opinions about you through that. And I always want to leave people, a better place too. So do I need to work on a little bit more personal stuff in my mind? Yes, I do. And I'll be honest, an update. I told you guys behind the scenes, I'm extremely extroverted, but a little bit private. Been that way since I was little. So I get inspiration from you two and the way you do it. So maybe that's my 2022 goal, right? And if you're out there listening too, find some way to, keep getting out of your comfort zone and go to that growth zone, as I say. But I have my pillars, and I have to admit, we're going to talk about this later. We did hit the wall. You and I both, of three of us, we all admitted, like between last week and this week, we were like, ugh, it happens to all of us, right? Life gets in the way. So we're going to talk about how to avoid that. But let's talk about someone. I promised you guys out there, we talk about the tips. Say someone's new to LinkedIn, or maybe like many of us, I think I joined in 2008. Let's get on it. What would you say is the starting point? I have my ideas. I want to hear what you guys recommend. We'll start with you, Michael. What do you want someone to know if they want to start doing LinkedIn, building that brand and awareness?
I mean, if we're talking from ground zero, first of all, it's just developing a strong LinkedIn profile. That's just the basic foundations of getting going, because like you want to get noticed somehow, and it's going to be, the foundations of building that LinkedIn profile. But if you are wanting to kind of grow your brand and create a voice for yourself, I would say start slow. Like I took a month of like, I really want to grow my brand, but like, I'm not going to post anything until I know what I'm doing. Yep. So I would connect with influencers, but then with those influencers, I would look on their accounts and see who they're liking, who they're engaging with, so then I would follow them as well. And I would follow their content. I would Google, how to create an engaging post and how to hook people in and stuff. But I would say, like, without going like way into it, start slow, take your time, and just be a lurker for a little bit.
Nothing wrong with that. As they say, they're learners. I say all the time, it's everywhere. It's even behind, I don't know if you can see it. Put yourself out there, right? It says it's easier said than done. So start small, get the lay of the land. I say go work the room, which sounds very like salesy and stuff, but it's like going like to a networking room. Go see what it's like. See what people are doing, what they're commenting. You can learn a lot, right, by just watching and listening. But I'll give you some more ideas. But Britt, I want to hear how you did it, and what do you suggest for those just getting out and wanting to put themselves out there?
So I think it varies, because I think everyone's personality is a little bit different, and so how you approach things varies. So for me, I guess my first piece of advice would be don't overcomplicate it. You can definitely overcomplicate it, overthink it, and then you just get stuck thinking that your post is never good enough to post. Really, it doesn't have to be that well thought out. For me, I know a lot of people spend a lot of time on content creation and curating it, making sure it's great. That's just not me. Like when I post, it's my brain dumping out on a post. I don't pre-write anything. I will asterisk that by the longer I've been doing dad jokes, the more I have to build my dad joke vault, because I don't want to say the same ones over and over again. But speaking, I don't put a ton of research into what I post. The other thing is just make it you. It's all about whatever you're passionate about. I mean, Michael, posts a lot of stuff about superheroes and about his family and about his job. Those are all things that he's passionate about. Me, I crack jokes about just about everything. I'm not that serious of a person. But when I do get serious, I get pretty deep. So when you see my post, it's kind of weird, because it'll be this very lighthearted, jokey post, and the next one will be like this, wisdom smack in the face, or deep thought smack in the face. It's just about being you. The other thing, you mentioned that you're an extrovert. I will say it's really good for you if you're an introvert, because if you're an introvert, the hardest thing about networking in person is that initial conversation. Well, guess what? When you put yourself out there every day, there are so many lurkers out there that are reading your stuff, that work for your company, that you don't realize. So it's a conversation starter. I can't tell you how many people come up to me that I don't conversate with regularly and say, hey, how's the house coming along? Or crack a dad joke randomly. And it just helps start that conversation that in person too, that you maybe wouldn't have had as easy of a time starting otherwise.
That is a great point. In fact, you're not the first one, and I cannot remember who told me in a comment last week. She said, I'm an introvert. Okay. And she is all about posting and gets a lot of engagement, I was like, wow, I'm the opposite. I'm an extrovert, whatever. So I guess that's a definite way. And I didn't do a post a couple months ago, like personal branding, getting on LinkedIn is totally for introverts. And I want to hashtag, if you follow Daisy, and Daisy, I'm blanking on your last name, but she does amazing content on creation and date for introverts. So I'm going to put it in the comments, and I completely blanked on her name, but she is awesome. So there are a lot of introverts out there, and a lot of people, it just doesn't come natural, and it's okay, because as you illustrate, you can do it either way. We're not forcing you, but we want, I try to encourage people to get out there. You know why? There's opportunities. I like to say visibility is not vanity. It opens doors and unlocks opportunities. And that's exactly why we're here today, right? And exactly why you're encouraging others, if that's something they want to do, to give it a try, right? So with that being said, we'll come back to content and all that. What are the benefits you saw right away, and how soon did you start seeing a difference, by putting yourself out there and being visible on LinkedIn? What would you say? We'll start with you again, Britt, and we'll go back to Michael, if that's okay. So thank you. Thank you. Who was that? That was Rex. Thank you, Rex. Okay, sorry, Britt.
No worries. So I would say that the benefits are slow go. They come with the consistency, and they come over time, and they compound. It's just like anything you do. Like when you first start working out and going to the gym, and you can, barely lift the bar, you don't see immediate impacts. But when you're consistent about it and you keep doing it, and you have that schedule that you set over time, before you know it, you can lift all kinds of weight, and there's all kinds of benefits that you see from it. So I would say that the benefits are compounding. They're not necessarily immediate.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is just being able to connect with new people, which creates those opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, I always say the people are the best part of LinkedIn, right? The community. So, that's true. I always use that analogy too, exercise and compound interest. So I like that. So Michael, tell us I think you had some how did it help you with your job too? I know that was some of the things you mentioned to me before. So tell us about that, how it worked for you.
Well, I will agree with Britt 100%. So like if you start a new job, like you don't just start sharing everything about your life, like you have to build that relationships, you have to build that trust and that value. So if I jumped on LinkedIn and just started just dumping stuff about my family or my personal thoughts and feelings, like nobody is going to engage with it because they don't know me, So now, just a week ago, I shared a personal testimony about my wife, and about how my wife has been the number one factor of the success of my career. That was my highest engaging post I've ever had. I had about over 1,100 likes and close to 200 comments on that post, and
Wow.
it's because people know me, but they can also relate with that post too. Other people can relate with the relationships and people in their lives that have helped them to grow in their career, So what was your question again, Michelle? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Oh no, that's a great answer so far. I mean, what did putting yourself, getting out there do for your job? I mean, I'm glad you said that about your wife. I remember that post really well last week, and I'm glad to hear that. I'm not going to get in the debate of professional and personal. Everyone does it your way. I don't preach, you do it what works for you, but I love that. But you also told me, and I guess as messaging back and forth, you had some direct benefits to your job, right? Didn't you get promoted or a new position too this past year? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So and that's the crazy thing, is like I never would have gotten promoted if I hadn't just started jumping on LinkedIn and growing my brand, and the people in my company knew that I was growing my brand so that it could get more eyes pointed towards our company, So they started giving me some responsibilities at my company. So like I manage some of our social media on our account, and I do different LinkedIn posts towards our 1150 Academy alumni. So like I've just over time with practice and doing it daily, I've just kind of gained that knowledge on how to engage with people on this platform. So by doing this daily, it's very much helped my career, and it's been awesome.
So we could have really titled this "How to Build Your Personal Brand as an employee," which is a great topic because it's a little subtopic here. I love it. I get asked this all the time. Should I? I want to build my personal brand in a company, and so this is so good to illustrate that because I talk in my content a lot. I gear more to like the entrepreneurial, life, getting clients and stuff like that. So this is really, really good. I would say that for me, I was inconsistent like crazy last year, hesitant like crazy to post. And so getting out there quickly, connected me with the people that I absolutely adore and I open LinkedIn every single day for, just getting to know these people. I mean, I've met people from all over the world, which is fantastic. That's awesome too. Building the relationships, collaborations, if you're a consultant, entrepreneur, those type people, getting out there, people will see you. You start becoming visible and known. And, it led to, being asked to speak at some things, podcasting, guest appearances, gotten clients from it. So all those things come in time. But the main thing is you got to keep showing up. And I like the analogy for exercise. You can't just expect to get fit, right? Just going to the gym once a month or whatever, I admit I've signed up for gym memberships and never gone. Like that gets you nowhere. You have to show up and do the work and it'll pay off, right? So that's a great analogy. You got to be in it, Now here's the thing. I'm going to be honest. Should people post 7 days a week? I'm going to be honest and ask you guys that. Should people post 7 days a week? And question B, would you do 7 days a week? Would you say yes to this challenge again if tell me. Michael, we'll start with you.
So I'm going to give two opinions, which I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what people think about it. But personally, I don't know. I'm going back and forth on a lot of those answers. So I'm going to go with my gut. So I would say personally, no, because I would rather produce 3 to 4 quality posts versus just trying to find a post just because I'm in a challenge, and I've had days like that. I've had days like I've got to post something because I've committed to this challenge and stuff, so I would rather put 3 to 4 posts that are very valuable. Now, professionally, like what would the growth of a company look like if all of their employees were active on LinkedIn?
Oh my goodness,
and not just not just entry level, but senior level, chief level, like what if more CEOs were active on LinkedIn? Like the awareness and growth of those companies would be astronomical, so I would say yes, professionally as part of the job, I think would be beneficial if people are that committed to the work that they do though.
I think that's a great answer. And, I was really ambitious on December 31st when I thought this up. So if I had to do over again, I would probably say 5 days a week,
Right.
Make that habit. Now there's some people who say that's great. I push back from people and it's an individual thing, but I'll tell you, it's part of my daily habit. I've had a bad dream before. I've had a nightmare before. I forgot to post on LinkedIn. Okay. Does that tell you something? That's pretty pathetic, right? But that's just because of challenge. Like I can't break my streak. So, but I'll tell you before we end what I'm going to go to next year. But Britt, love to hear your thoughts on this.
So I think as with everything I do in life, I try to set boundaries. So I say the one reason why I said yes to the 365 challenge was because in the official rules wasn't necessarily that I posted every day, but that I posted 365 times in the year. So that made me comfortable that if I didn't want to post on a Saturday or Sunday, or if I was taking a day off, all it meant was throwing an afternoon post out there. And most of the time I posted pretty early in the morning, so that was no big deal. So I think having structure is good and adds to the consistency. And I'd say that structure probably looks a little bit different for everybody. But I think establishing what those boundaries are, making them clear, and then living within them, posting within them, I think that's the important part. The truth of the matter is the more often you post, the more frequently and consistent you are, the better the results you're going to see from it.
Absolutely. And people have dropped off. You probably know we had a lot of people in the beginning. I don't police or it's an honor system, right? But you probably seen people gung-ho in the beginning, right? And then, and I get it. And we're not pointing fingers, life gets in the way, whatever. But those that have, and I can think off the top of my head, a lot of people that are still doing it. So what are your thoughts? Are you still seeing that consistent group in your feeds too? Are you still interacting with a lot of those same people or? what?
I think it evolves over time. So you have some people, I mean, because with LinkedIn, I mean, if we're being really honest, there's a subset of people that is on LinkedIn frequently while they were trying to find or looking for a job. And then once they secure that job, they fall off. And, there's people trying new things all the time. I definitely would say at the beginning of the year, there were people going, gusto, but it's like any New Year's resolution, right? Everyone's like, oh, this sounds great. And they go all in, but they maybe overcommit themselves, or they don't set a good structure in place, set those boundaries in place that, keep them from overexerting themselves, and they burn out. You got to set smart goals. If you're not going to the gym, going back to that gym analogy, if you haven't been going to the gym and you're setting a goal for 2022 that you're going to go to the gym every day, that's probably a dumb goal, because you're probably going to burn yourself out, and you're not going to follow through with it. But if you decide, I'm going to do 3 days a week at the gym, and I'm going to make sure I go, and if my work sucks because I'm still sore from 2 days before, I think setting those boundaries, having that structure in place is the key.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's give some more tips, because that is such a smart thing. I just want to, you got to find what works for you, get a goal. We're all in it for different things. I know that I'm one of those weirdos that I can't break a streak for some reason. I've done it before with running, some other things. That's just how I operate. And crazy enough, other people said yes to it. And I'm so glad, because people have just transformed their business, their professional career. I'm so thankful for this year. It has been transformative, most of all to meet people like you. But here's the thing, it can overtake you. I know some people get wrapped in the numbers and the views, and that can start messing with you too. You can start overthinking it. One thing I find, the longer I post, if I don't, I'm too busy, I'll start overthinking it myself and just freak myself out. So I think here's some smart things. If you're going to be in 2022, for instance, going to post or wanting to post, figure out what your end goal is. I mean, we're all here. What's a smart, manageable number, right? Just like you said, Britt. I think 3 is a good idea. 5 still a lot. I know, it's like the bell curve. We're all going to have the outliers, but 3 is a good, would you guys say three times a week would be, or how about what's consistent for you, but at least consistent? What would you add to that, Michael, for advice?
Yeah, I would say you work up to where you're most comfortable, so like on the low end for me, it was like once a week. On the high end was like 3 times a day,
Oh, wow.
and so I
didn't know that.
right, so like October, November, December last year, I was doing 3 times a day. And I was excited about the 365 challenge, because I was like, I'm going to commit to posting once a day versus 3 times a day.
I had no idea. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. I was massively aggressive in the beginning, and that's kind of how I got ramped up. I think that's an okay strategy too, but to be sustainable, I think is really tough. So like for me to back off 3 times a day to do 1 post a day for the 365 challenge was a little bit more manageable for me. Yeah. So yeah, but I would say, kind of to what Britt is saying, to find what works best for you, so 1 post a day, and it just depends to me. So right now, this is a super busy season for me, so it's really kind of 1 post a day for me, but sometimes I'll post 2 times a day, or if I have the content that I think that's valuable, I'll do 3, sometimes 2, but like, it just depends on where you're at during the year. And for me, it's just once right now, and probably next year, it's going to be in between that 3 to 5.
That's what I think I'm going to do too. So just as long as you're out, you're still there commenting and stuff, as long as this is your strategy. I mean, hell, you could have people reading this or watching this right now, and they're like, I don't care about LinkedIn, and that's good too. But at the end of the day, you will find benefits and opportunities for your job, your career, personally and professionally. I promise you. Where else can you go? And I want to ask you about TikTok before we leave, Britt. Where else can you go though and find the support and the mentorship and the encouragement, right, that we get here? So that's why I love this place. Now, Britt, tell me real quick what you think is a good number for someone to give advice to start out. What do you think is your go-to number
for posting on LinkedIn? I think it really depends on the individual. And I think if you set, I would say, a Monday through Friday goal, if you set a goal of 5 days a week, so that even if you miss 1 or 2, you're still pretty consistent. I think that's a good goal. And then that way you don't have the like pressure that you have to post on the weekends. And if you want to post and it works for your schedule, post on the weekends. And if you don't worry about it. I think the worst thing is when you feel like you have to post, and so you throw out like a crap poll or something like that just to keep the algorithm, going. That kind of takes away from the goal of what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. And also too, quality does, help, quantity too, because as some people say, you can get, you get used to it too. So to find the balance, but it's okay, guys. At the end of the day, we're talking just a challenge here. This is the context of the challenge, but I want people to realize it's okay if you don't. It's okay if you do, just try to do your best and get out there. Take that step. My thing is, put yourself out there, whatever that means, and just do it one baby step at a time. And you can do it. And people really, that's another thing I hear. People don't know, like, oh, it's already been said. I don't know what to say. I promise you, one of the gifts of putting yourself out there and starting to get in this mode, wouldn't you say the ideas start flowing? Would you say that to be true for you? Because it did for me. And I've talked to other people that's happened. And why do you think that is, if that's true for you?
I mean,
Britt, you go.
Oh, sorry, Michael, I didn't mean to interrupt. But I would say one thing that I always come back to, and it's kind of one of my underlying principles, is that I believe that everybody has a story, and that when you tell your story, you have the power to impact other people's stories. So just putting yourself out there and talking about even the struggles and things that you're going through, you realize that you're not alone in some of the things that you're facing. And if your end goal is, when you're posting it, is to end on a positive note, then that means no matter how crappy of a day that you're having, if you're telling everyone about it, that you have to figure out in your head a way to spin it around to something positive.
Yep. That's awesome. Yeah. Landed positive, land the plane positively. Yeah. So hopefully that make you feel better too. And and whether you know it or not, people are reading your stuff and you're impacting people. So I don't want you to think, your voice doesn't matter. So thank you for sharing that. That's really important. What about you, Michael? What would you say to that?
I mean, very close to what Britt is saying, because a lot of with my content, I always want to leave with a positive note, that there's some value. I believe everyone has a voice on LinkedIn and they have a story to share, and that's actually a part of my job is sharing those stories to the community and stuff. So yeah, pretty much the same thought process for sure.
That's really good. So there's another message here for you. You have a message, a story. You have a different point of view. When I work with personal brand clients, I always find a way to help you communicate who you are, your value, and pull out what makes you different, so you can show up and communicate with confidence. And there's a way to do that. So the more you get out there and just kind of figure it out, it'll flow, and then you'll get people to respond and build a community that will support you, which is so huge. So I'm going to talk, I know we're kind of getting to the end of our time. So everyone's on LinkedIn here, obviously. We're streaming on LinkedIn. But if you know it or not, Britt has really developed a little following and some content creation on TikTok. So I want to hear, give us a real quick thing about your TikTok experience and some tips if we want to explore that platform too.
So I was encouraged by someone I connected with on LinkedIn. They're like, I think your content could convert really well to TikTok. And I was like, you know what, I'll try it. And if I'm honest, the first couple of times it was awful. I had like 10 people that looked at what I put out there. But the cool thing at any social media platform is when you start to figure out how to do it, you can take things that you've learned from one platform and apply it to another. And although each platform's a little bit different, it can speed up So the cool thing about TikTok is if you're worried about some long post that you don't have time to create, TikTok's 15-second videos. You can do longer if you want, but it really doesn't take that long to come up with 15 seconds of something to say. And if you're like me and you have a little bit of a dry sense of humor and delivery, sometimes those things linger and stick with people. And I'm starting to build an audience there. It's not quite where things are on LinkedIn, but I'm still brand new to that journey too.
Well, that's really cool. So, hey, shout out to Gabe. How are you? I'm doing great. And we got over my tech issues. But anyway, what's your handle? The Funniest Accountant, or is it your name?
Funniest Accountant. So okay. Even if you don't end up liking TikTok, TikTok is super easy to put together and edit videos.
That's what I've heard.
So you can take those videos that you create on TikTok and then post them to LinkedIn. And it's a lot easier than other methods of posting video to LinkedIn.
As opposed to like Instagram or stories or something.
Yes.
Okay. So it's easy to do. The $1 million question is, what the heck do you say? Is it accounting stuff? Is it just funny dad jokes? Or is it anything? Tell us what you're doing on there as far as content themes.
I mean, so it's mostly jokes and quick jokes. Sometimes I started off like it's a like I'm going to say something motivational, and I'll have like motivational music going in the background, and I say something that's completely demotivational. I like to say that TikTok's the darker side to dad jokes. People are a little bit more relentless on that platform, so the comments can be mean, but I like to play along with those. So,
Okay.
but I find it to be a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, I have yet to post on it. I have an account, a profile or whatever, but I have not. So I hear people who do it. What about you, Michael? Are you doing anything there?
I would say Britt's strategy with TikTok is spot on, because at the end of the day, like, nobody cares about what you're selling on LinkedIn. You know, like, nobody cares that I work for a nonprofit. Nobody cares that Britt's an accountant and stuff. But the hook for Britt is his jokes, is his brand. And like, once I am hooked into Britt and his content, then I'm gonna get interested into him as an accountant and what he's doing for
Absolutely.
his Fortune 50 company, you know. And I think it's the same strategy that you can use on LinkedIn as well. You know, is if I can hook people into me and my content, my brand, then they'll get interested in what I'm selling later.
Yeah, absolutely. Lead with you and your personality, teach them, inspire, educate. Yeah, but don't sell. And I don't think I've ever sold in one post this year. The only thing I've tried to sell you on is to watch one of my LinkedIn lives, or which are hopefully a valuable information. So that's kind of the philosophy I'm taking. Some people call me crazy. I'm just here to give this year, you know, and get out there. I mean, not that come January 1st, you'll see me selling. I'm not going to do that either, but just, you know, be a networker,
Well,
community builder, you know.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with selling, but I think you've got to sprinkle it in. If
Yes.
Season it. Yep.
if I am there every day, 1150 Academy, 1150 Academy, like, everybody's going to stop following me or be tuned out. You know, people are more interested in about
Yep.
what I've learned in the workforce, what I'm learning now, how I'm growing, you know, me as a dad, my kids, the stuff I talk about with superheroes and Star Wars. Like, they're more interested in that. And then every now and then I'll say, hey, I work for a great company, and here's the reason why you should listen to this content. So
That's great. I like to call it the subtle ask, you know, rotate it,
right.
you know. You're right. If you lead with a sell, just like people do in the DMs and you know, spam us, you're going to get tuned out, ignored, blocked, unfollowed. You know, just, you know, the feed is life, and the feed is too short to have to listen to that. So just as Sherry says, shout out to Sherry, be a good human. So I love that tagline about her. So I'm going to go check out TikTok. You know, I don't ever tell my clients to be on all the platforms. Get really good on one, and then maybe venture to a second one after you're getting really comfortable. Spreading yourself too thin is not really ideal. I wanted to shout out to all the people watching here today. You guys have been tremendous, and I just want to thank you. And I think we're going to give the commenting award to Jacob. He probably has so many. He's like your biggest fan, Britt. I think, Britt, you are his biggest fan. And I want to shout out to Gabe and Sherry. And there's some LinkedIn users here. I don't know who you are, but you are
Amanda,
awesome.
I saw you.
Amanda, yes, you guys are awesome. So I'm loving this new platform, but I'm embarrassed again, and I apologize for that. Totally embarrassing, whatever the heck happened there. But anyway, so last words and advice. And what are you going to do for 2022? I want to know what you would recommend to someone and what you're going to do, so we can give people some words of wisdom to go out on. What do you think, Michael?
I mean, you know, create content that you would be interested in. You know, if you're creating content and you get to the end of that content and you're like, this is not that great, it's not that boring, then you probably shouldn't post it. You know, that's kind of the whole reason why I talk about Marvel and Star Wars and my family and other things, because I'm interested and I'm engaged with it, and I will hook it into to my story, how I think it relates to my audience, you know. So, you know, talk about things that you would be interested in, engage with as well, you know, and then engage with that community. You know, if people are taking the time to comment on your posts, then comment back to them and engage with them on their posts as well, you know. Absolutely. But like a lot from like what Britt has said, like, find your pace, you know, go with your flow, you know, like initially what Britt said in the beginning, you know, don't put too much thought into it. The growth will happen, you know. You just need to be patient and work into it.
Exactly. That's great advice. Thank you, Michael. What about you, Britt? What are you going to do for 20? Oh, what are you going to do? Oh, and that's pretty much what you'll do for yourself too, right, Michael? 3 to 5 times a week. So we'll still see you here. You're not going away, right? You're not going away.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Britt, what about you? Parting words of advice to all those who want to put themselves out there and become the funniest something on LinkedIn, like you.
So what I'm personally going to do, I mean, I've made posting a part of my routine, so it's going to continue to be a part of my daily routine. So I don't see that changing. I will say, if you're thinking about doing this, I give it a try. I'd rather try at something and fail than not try at all. And then if you've kind of been doing LinkedIn, but you'd like to take the next step, then just take a step back and think about what's something I could do as I plan out next year. What's a goal for me that would be able to help me, increase my presence, increase what I'm doing, and help me better reach my goals on LinkedIn. Just taking it a step further from where you're at right now.
Yes, get out of that comfort zone, because we've gotten comfortable here, even though we're not comfortable still posting 365, or because we're hitting the wall at the end of the year. Very typical. But we've all gotten, like the three of us and all the other people in the challenge and all those doing it, we're now comfortable doing this, right? So what's the next thing we can inch up and keep becoming that better version of ourselves, right? And for me, it'll probably be a little bit, I'll be honest, I'm going to try to be a little bit more personable, still have that professional, but personal. I always tell my clients, look, if you don't want to be personal, be personable. Personal versus personable is a little bit different. So I'm going to work on that, because I'll be honest, that's where I need to want to personally, get out there a little bit more on a personal side, but still maintaining that who I am, so you can absolutely do it. There's no right or wrong. And so I just want to encourage people to take that but take that jump rather, right? As you've seen here today, that benefits far outweigh the negatives and the risk. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would have never met amazing people like you. And you're just a fraction of the absolutely incredible people from that 365 challenge and LinkedIn in general. So, you are going to meet the people. At the end of the day, the people make this place, right? The people make the platform, no matter what. And you got to keep that in mind. So with that being said, I want to thank you both so much for showing up today out of your busy schedules and sharing your stories about today. So what parting words of wisdom, anything else you want to say, Michael and Britt, before we close out?
I don't think it would be right if I left without a dad joke. So I'll throw one out there.
Absolutely. Okay. What's your dad joke?
So what profession, we talked a lot about networking, LinkedIn's a networking site. So what profession does the best networking?
Ooh, I don't know.
Fisherman.
Where do you get these? Do you write these?
Dad jokes have been around forever. So,
you just go on the internet?
You can Google a lot of
You're
things.
Not telling us. Okay, I know. Okay, I get it. Shouldn't have asked.
When I first started doing it, it was all me and ideas and things that I've heard. But you commit to doing something and start doing it more frequently, and it's a combination of research and people just randomly sending you stuff because they know that you're into it. So
that's awesome. That's every Friday. Yeah. So if you guys aren't following the Funniest account on LinkedIn, please go follow him. He will inspire you, make you laugh, but also there's some really deep, as you said, comments in there too. And he has an awesome new house and all the fun things he shares. And he has quite of an addiction to board games too. I know that.
Small addiction.
Yeah, a little bit of addiction. He's admitting it. It's so cool. So Michael, if people want to follow you, they can learn a lot about your nonprofit, but also about you, your amazing, awesome family, and your love of Star Wars and all that stuff. So any parting words you want to share with us today?
Oh man, I'm tempted to share a dad joke as well, because I wish I'd worked that into my brand, because I actually love dad jokes, and there's actually a lot of dad joke TikTokers that I follow as well. And stuff.
There's a ton of
right, for sure. Just words of wisdom is slow and steady. No rush. Go at your pace. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. Those are great. Well, thank you guys so much. I wanted to say thank you all for showing up. And I want to say my message is, just put yourself out there, whatever little baby step that takes, but just get out of that comfort zone to that growth zone, because that's where the opportunities are for you professionally and personally. So thank you again. And we will see you next month for another edition of the Business of You holiday version. I'll be announcing that soon. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We definitely need more impactful entrepreneurs like you out there. So if you'd like to learn more about how I can help you build your personal brand to grow your business, please check out yourbrandyourbusiness.com. britt.com. And until next time, you have a brand to build, a message to share, and people to impact. Now go put yourself out there and watch the business of you grow.